It is pretty much the last week of ARTFIGHT and I'm so far behind on revenging everyone, and you all still insist on sending me art, which I really love. I appreciate it. My heart is so full. I can hardly fathom how I've been getting like 14, 15 pieces of art pretty much consistently every week since the start of ARTFIGHT, but it is the first time this year that I did manage to bring my bookmarks folder from 2 pages to 1 page. I know, hold your applause. No, seriously, hold your applause, because that's still 30 people that I haven't been able to make revenge art for. But I did manage to make a few pieces of revenge art this week for a really fun group of character designs with great lore, some from artists we've seen before during the ARTFIGHT season, as well as some new ones, so let's get right into it. The character appearing before you now is one from a very kind and creative artist that I met on ARTFIGHT last year under the username punk_x_hazard. This year punkxhazard drew me an incredible evil Inkashi, and so of course I had to get my revenge. And I ended up choosing a character named Rika Rampage. Now before I talk specifically about Rika's backstory, we do have to create a foundation on which we are to build this lore. If you were here for last year's ARTFIGHT and remember Punkhazard and their character Diamond Rhodes, Rika is from the same universe in an overarching storyline that Punk has called Sparks. And as of recording this video, all of the characters that Punk has on her ARTFIGHT page are from the Sparks storyline, and every time I open a new character and read the little blurb that's written about them, I get launched into just another level of lore and information that I didn't know about the Sparks universe. Sparks is a sort of fantasy science fiction story that revolves around the idea of people having sparks, sparks being the power system. The average person will have around 1 to 3 sparks, but there have been several rare cases where people are born with more or somehow receive more sparks. However, this causes significant strain on a human body and often results in major chronic health issues or physical deformities. Sparks are typically classified into 3 categories: physical, magic, and support. Physical sparks are what they sound like. They create some physical mutation or enhancement to make you stronger, faster, tougher, etc. Magic sparks give some sort of ability, like producing fire, manipulating metal, or being able to sink and swim through shadows. Support sparks generally revolve around providing some kind of aid or being able to enhance someone else's abilities. It can be anything from simply healing someone or actually being able to make someone else stronger or more powerful. Many of the characters involved in the Spark story have been subjected to some sort of government testing, because what's a sci-fi story without a sketchy government laboratory conducting bizarre and unethical experiments? One of the experiments, known as the Chimera Project, was the government's attempt to make human cyborgs. At the start of the project, the government approached 6 people with unborn children and offered a substantial amount of money in exchange for their participation in an experiment, as well as the babies once they were born. While they were still fetuses, they were given a serum that prevented their sparks from manifesting, to prevent any unexpected retaliation from the children during experimentation. The 6 children remained in the hands of scientists for quite a while, only once all possible means of money ran out. The children, ages ranging from 10 years old to 23 years old, were abandoned and left to their own devices. And the first thing that they did was give each other names, since all they had were numbers indicating who was the oldest and who was the youngest. So, number 1, the youngest, became Fox, 2 became Makoto, 3 became Bruno, 4 became Rika, who we have here, 5 became Lucy, and 6 became Sage. And that is where I have to leave you with Rika and the information for Sparks. I love to see how it's developing. Honestly, there is so much incredible lore. I could probably spend forever delving into the different characters and the various groups and experiments and the magic system itself. I know I do medieval traditional fantasy stuff mostly on this channel, but sci-fi will always have a special place in my heart. And if you love a fun sci-fi story and cool characters with deep and tragic backstories, I highly recommend checking out the links below and going to Punkhazard's page and just taking some time to immerse yourself in the characters and lore. There is so much lore to explore, and it's very cool and very enjoyable. For our second character, we have yet another returning member of the ARTFIGHT rotation and also certified lore fiend Brenilla, who drew me this Babarusalka piece a while ago. I say certified lore fiend because, a lot like Punkhazard, Hazard, many of the characters on their page are from various stories that they've constructed, and as you take your time going from character to character and realizing how they connect, you end up with pieces of a story that is full of tragedy and victory and sadness and joy. And the character I'm drawing is Bran Diorian, or the Druid. I chose this character purely because I love the design concept, but it turns out she's central to a beautiful story of learning to find yourself again in the face of repeated loss and tragedy. Bran Diorian lived in a time and place where elves and non-elves lived in parallel realms. The two realms were linked by an aligned forest in which a portal was built so that peaceful friendship and small trade could be permitted between the two realms. Though elves saw themselves as superior, it still would be impossible to completely stop love from budding between elves and non-elves, specifically between Bran Diorian and the high elf Oriel Beaufort. In time, a quiet romance would begin between the two, and Oriel would give Bran a gift, an Alice Racine, a circlet that allowed the user to fly, and with eventual continued use, would fully allow a pair of wings to graft to the user's body. Oriel would be required to travel back to the Elven realm frequently for his work, and Diorian would not be allowed to follow, since non-elves are not permitted to cross the portal. However, Diorian and Oriel married anyways. They were content and happy, and while Oriel was away, Diorian would fill her life with taking care of their happy and healthy baby boy, Callum. However, happiness is not long-lived, and news would reach Diorian's household that Oriel had been wed to a high elf, to someone of his own status. Heart-shattered, she gathered essentials, the baby Callum, and left their home behind, which she set ablaze in her own fury. All the memories, all the belongings, and the Alice Racine that Oriel had gifted her. Despite her wings not having fully grafted, the pain of losing the wings was far less than keeping the memory of Oriel close. For the next few years, Diorian and Callum would wander. Callum would ask about the scars on her back, dream of the skies and being among the stars, and Diorian would tell him tales of flight, teach him magic, and share most of her knowledge with him, but would refuse to tell him of his father. Callum, woefully unprepared and dangerously optimistic, began dreaming and weaving magic in an attempt to help his mother find her wings once more. And one day, he almost did. He took to the skies on unsteady and dwindling magic that would consume him. Diorian managed to find him and catch his body as it fell back to the earth, trying everything in her power to save him, but once again, Diorian found herself losing that which she loved most. But this time, she would keep memories of him. She would keep part of his clothing to cover her eyes as a blindfold. She would stack stones and grow trees in his honor. She would eventually begin to further her own study of the stars and the magic that Callum was inspired by, and she decides that she'll venture off on her own and fulfill their dream and someday find wings again. And with that, I am out of time, but you can find out what happens to our druid by heading to check out Diorian's character page. There's a much more in-depth version of the story I just told on the attack that I made of her that Brenilla wrote, or you can read the backstories of Callum and Oriel, which are available on Brenilla's page, or Iona and Vettel, who I didn't have a chance to mention, but are part of the story as well. Brenilla has made beautiful animated shorts for these characters as well, so with their ARTFIGHT page, I will also put a link to their channel below as well. Our third character of the video belongs to ARTFIGHT user igneriss and their beautiful D&D character Arganel. Arganel is a cleric of the life domain, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, you all know I love a cleric. They also drew my D&D character Fing, so it seemed only fitting that I came back to draw their D&D character. Arganel's overall design is beautifully complicated and simple at the same time. It's a very classic silhouette and structure, and the colors are beautiful as well, and her long straight hair, it all drew me in initially, but I forgot just how crazy drawing a scale mail can make a person feel. But it's such a beautiful detail. Arganel has a beautiful scale mail top with these gorgeous matching epaulets, and I just had to draw her. I simply had to. Arganel is a D&D character, but she's not part of a campaign in a traditional sense. Igneriss's local community actually has a sort of revolving table of DMs and players, so every once in a while someone will put out a notice that they're going to run a single session game for players with characters at a certain level, and anyone that wants to join or has a character at the appropriate level can sign up for a session. So Arganel has been in many different kinds of parties with different players and a lot of different DMs, and this experience sounds very unique and very interesting. You know, you might not know who's gonna be there, and you get to see a lot of different kinds of play styles and meet a lot of different people. I can definitely imagine it being a very, very fun time and also potentially a very stressful time. But a couple of the adventures that Arganel has been on include collecting ingredients for a newly opening cake shop, protecting said cake shop from competing cake shops, being part of staff set up to spot and stop cheaters at a cheese making contest, and also rescuing missing people from kidnappers in a swamp. It's just a wide variety of different experiences and locations and tasks. Arganel has one of the more unique backstories as to why she is adventuring. A lot of D&D characters that I've heard from and interact with have mostly been trying to grow more powerful or get revenge or have been forced to adventure to make ends meet. Arganel, on the other hand, did not decide to become an adventurer on her own accord. Her superiors found that her being isolated in the temples made her very sheltered, closed-minded, and a little bit prideful. So, to open her eyes to see how others live, she was told to go, and this is a direct quote from igneriss, touch grass. Arganel isn't certain how touching plants is supposed to make her a better person, but she has a deep respect for the higher-ups in the temple, so if that's what they want of her, that's what she'll do. So since then, she has taken to traveling the world and helping those who need her. And that is where I leave you with Arganel's story. Love her, love the character design, and also the rest of the characters on igneriss's page. They're all super interesting. Taking a moment to step away from talking about D&D, igneriss has several webcomics that they have written. The current one that they're working on is about a young woman and her dog who move into a haunted house because they are not financially secure enough to live anywhere else. But igneriss also has, I think, 2 fantasy webcomics as well as a slice of life one about being a chemist that gives me strong flashbacks to my own experiences in university in the chemistry lab. So as always, I'll leave some links to all that in the description, so you should all check that out and support a fellow artist. For this next character, I promise I was trying not to focus exclusively on D&D characters, but one in Sheepdundee's character lineup really caught my eye. Sheepdundee made me not 1 but 2 beautiful attacks before I managed to draw even one of their characters, so I had to in turn draw a character that's a bit of a 2-in-1, like a centaur. Okay, that's a joke, by the way. I can't do revenge chains or draw multiple pieces of art for the same person in 1 year just because it wouldn't be fair to the people who have gotten nothing at all in revenge from me. But that being said, I in no way think that one of my art pieces is a fair trade for anyone taking the time or effort to make me multiple art pieces during ARTFIGHT. ARTFIGHT is crazy and wonderful and chaotic and incredibly busy. To everyone who went to continue the revenge chain or who just drew me multiple drawings because they felt like it, huge thank you. That is so nice of you and so appreciated. But on to the character at hand, we have Seriana. This is a more recent one of Sheepdundee's D&D characters, and she is a centaur, but instead of half horse, she is half cat. And actually, on the note of her being half cat, I will be showing Seriana in the final reveal alongside the other characters as if she were regular human-sized, just so that we can see all the details of her appearance, but in reality, she's very small, maybe gnome-sized at the tallest, as her cat portion is literally house cat sized. Because of her rare and beautiful features, Seriana has worked primarily as a model. She was raised in a rich household, has done very little on her own, and has become incredibly full of herself after years and years of special treatment. Despite this, there is a part of her that feels that she is missing something, although she herself is not fully aware of what that is. She constantly worries about her image because beauty is the only thing that has afforded her this lifestyle. It's what made the maids pay attention to her, and the money that she brought in from modeling is what made her parents love her. So what more to life is there, really? Sheepdundee has actually only just started playing sessions using this cat centaur rogue, so Seriana has a lot of character development to go and many adventures that she has yet to encounter. But I love it. I think it's a very unique character motivation, and I think little homebrew flavors for character appearance is so fun as long as your DM is okay with it. But that is the end of the video on Sheepdundee's character, Seriana. As always, just a big thank you, not just to Sheepdundee, but all the artists in the video who made all these fun character designs and then let me share them, and also those who took the time to share extra tidbits of lore. Getting to listen to and then share character backstories is one of my favorite part of ARTFIGHT season. So with that, head on over to those links and check out Sheepdundee's characters. The second to last character I have is by Delunesional, who also made me not one but two beautiful attacks this year. One of Fang and one of Cat, the latter of which will be featured again in this video's attack montage after the speed draws. First of all, Lune's collection of characters are so chef's kiss, just a beautiful array of styles and colors, and the ones that I have had the honor of interacting with have the most wonderful, deep backstories, and I genuinely had a really hard time deciding which one of Lune's characters that I wanted to draw. But then I saw their doll-themed Warforged Astoria. The ball-jointed doll or porcelain doll trope for a Warforged is one of my favorites. I've never played a Warforged, but when I do, I have plans. Also, yes, I'm using this pose reference again for an archer. If you remember the drawing that I did first using this pose reference on this channel, thank you. Hello, you've been around a very long time and I really appreciate that. But you know, sorry that it's just such a good pose for an archer, and sorry that I think it's cool, and heaven forbid a girl use the same reference twice in her artistic career. Alright, enough of that. Astoria's backstory is one full of conspiracy and intrigue, and focuses around a young girl named Estrella. Estrella is twin to her sister Josine, the two daughters of a noble family. However, in nobility there is always someone who is scheming for more power, and in an attempt to take the family's title, Estrella's uncle Erlez makes several secret attempts to assassinate the entire family. He manages to be rid of the parents, however when Estrella and Josine are sent to the afterlife, they find themselves instead in the audience of the Fae Queen as well as their late mother. The Fae Queen proposes a difficult choice to their mother. She will use her power, but she only has enough to send one of the twins back to the mortal realm, and the other cannot return. Confronted with the difficult decision, their mother sends Estrella back and Josine stays with her. The uncle Erlez is deeply displeased with Estrella's return, but he plays the part of the doting uncle, praising the miracles that have happened. Estrella then begins befriending Erlez's daughter, Zinnia, and her uncle will not have it. To direct Estrella's friendship elsewhere, he has a doll commissioned, Astoria. This is a special doll with a rhodonite core, a magic that can be woven with complex memories and protocols, and Estrella finds Astoria delightful, but not nearly complex enough to form a deep and real friendship with. So Erlez sends the doll back to the great artificer Melis Varn, again and again and again, to weave more thoughts and independence into this doll. With Estrella's growing attachment to Astoria, Erlez begins to use Astoria against her, breaking parts of Astoria whenever Estrella misbehaves, parts that Estrella carefully puts back together with golden glue. Over and over and over again, the cycle continues until one day Melis Varn achieves a level of perfection that no artificer has reached before, to have woven enough memory and emotions into Astoria to mimic an actual soul. And suddenly Astoria has to grapple with floating weaves of feelings and loose memories, protecting Estrella, and she also becomes the subject of heavy philosophical debate between artificers and magic users. And that is where my speed draw ends and where the campaign begins, and also where we get to see my finished version of Astoria. Again, I just love a doll Warforged, but also I love the unique cycle in which her soul was built, that it took her being sent back over and over and over again. I think that's neat. But you know who else is neat? Delunesional, who makes great art and also writes fantastic backstories for their characters. I highly recommend you check their work out. Genuinely, it's a beautiful gallery of characters. And for our last character of the lineup, we start at nearly my fully constructed humanoid body base, because even after more than 3 years of making YouTube videos, I still cannot manage to remember to press the record button. I really struggled with it, especially with like all the speed draws featured in this video. I genuinely have no idea what happened, and I'm very sorry. You know, I think I just got too dang excited to draw all these super cool characters. This character was designed by art_Nox, who drew one of my trio, my girl Merilith, and I have had this character Morrigan bookmarked from the first time that I visited her page. Normally with these character backstories, I try to do my best and retell the story I've been given in my own words, sometimes needing to condense things for time, sometimes it's just making sure I'm reading the story at a pace that makes sense for the video. But ArtNox sent me like a short story poem of this character Morrigan and her tragically fated lover Kenna, and it's the perfect length. So with her permission and in her exact words, here is ArtNox's tale of Morrigan and Kenna. Long, long ago, a mortal woman named Morrigan was firstborn. She was no noble, no warrior of legend, only the simple daughter of a humble farmer, a gentle spirit whose heart held a quiet strength. Though her life was simple, fate had marked her for something far beyond her mortal knowing. During the festival of SwuM, when the veil between realms thins, Morgan wandered alone into the ancient woods surrounding her village. Beneath the shimmer of stars, she stepped into a wide, empty clearing bare of trees. Time seemed to slow, then stop, as the heavens cast their golden glow upon the earth. And there, beneath their watchful light, stood Kenna, waiting as if she had always belonged to that still, suspended place. Kenna was not of this world. A radiant being of celestial fire, she shone with otherworldly light, her eyes like molten gold, her presence humming with divine power. She had descended not out of duty, but out of longing, drawn to glimpse the mortal world's fleeting beauty, a world she had only watched from afar. And when Morgan and Kenna met, the stars held their breath. For this would be a love story for the ages. But nothing was that simple, for theirs was a forbidden love, for the Celestials were bound by an ancient law. They were never to love mortals, never to entangle their hearts with those destined to die, for such love could unravel the order of realms. Kenna did not care. She chose love. For years she remained hidden, walking the world in secret at Morgan's side. They danced in moonlight, shared the joys of fleeting life, whispering eternity into each moment. But the heavens do not forgive defiance. Their punishment came swiftly and cruelly. For love, they were both condemned. Thunder split the skies. Kenna was cast down from the divine, her wings torn from her, stripped of her place among the stars, but not of her immortality. That the gods left her. Morgan was bound to the wheel of her birth, her soul reborn again and again. In every life she would meet Kenna anew, in a different land, a different form, and in every life she would fall in love with her all over again, only to die. Always suddenly, always tragically, always too soon. A blacksmith's daughter, a wandering bard, a warrior queen, an orphan forgotten by the world. Each life is a thread in the tapestry of fate, and always Kenna was there, a stranger with familiar eyes, a voice that stirred ancient longing, a presence that ached like a memory just out of reach. But Morgan never remembers. Kenna does, for that is her curse, to live on lifetime after lifetime with the weight of every loss. She remembers each touch, each kiss, each final breath, and she can do nothing to stop it. Together they are a love story written into the bones of the world, one that defies time, fate, and even death. A love that is never allowed to end, only to begin again and again and again and again. And that is Morgan. Every time I read it, I get actual chills, and it makes me want to draw Morgan and Kenna together, as if I don't already have enough to draw without going back to draw characters again. Once again, all credits for the character design and that poetry of a backstory to Art Knox. They have a ton of beautiful fantasy characters and a delicious art style, so please do go check their work out. And just looking at this final lineup of characters, I think this goes to show that this is why lore has unexpectedly become my favorite part of ARTFIGHT. All of these artists, whether the backstory was short or long or more lighthearted or heavy, are not only talented artists, they have come up with the most wonderful, heart-wrenching, compelling, just all-around interesting stories for their characters. And I'm so honored that they have shared these stories with me, and the best I have to give in return is some measly art, and begging all of you to go to their ARTFIGHT pages and other links and support their work. But before we close the video, I'm going to so quickly go through the 13 pieces of art I received since my last video. We got a lot of really unique art this week of some of my more unusual, less popular characters, so let's get into it. As if she couldn't let us forget that she is the queen of ARTFIGHT, we start off with a Calliope drawn by Marshmallow-Cat. Beautiful clean line art, lovely shading. I love the use of different pinks in the drawing and the soft gradients. It's perfect for her. Thank you so much, Marshmallow-Cat. Next, we have 4 whole characters in one drawing. We have V, Lucky, Babarusalka, and Magdalena, all drawn by Tiefling's Advocate. This just straight up looks like an illustration out of some dark fairy tale book, and to say I am obsessed is an understatement. Dziękuję bardzo, Tiefling's Advocate. 2 in a row for multiple Curse Girls. We have V, Lucky, and Babarusalka, drawn by Terrence Is Here. I love the dusty cursed library lighting and the different expressions on each of the characters. I feel like you've captured captured them all so perfectly in their interactions with each other. Thank you so much for the artwork. Next we have an alternate outfit cat, which we saw a sneak peek of earlier from Delunesional. The way that Loon has translated all of Cat's original outfit details into the made outfit is spectacular. The little stitching to mimic the cutouts of her original dress design, and the long impractical sleeves with the little bells. Oh, I adore it. Thank you so much. Of course, what's a week of ARTFIGHT without some Fing, and we have this super cute, dreamy meadow piece drawn by ArtyReby. I love so much about it. The saturated colors, clean line work, the glowy little butterfly. It's perfect. Thank you so much, ArtyReby. And ooh, an animated attack. I love getting animated attacks. This one is of Catalyst Beaumont, drawn by roguelostinspace. It captured her character so perfectly. She's so fluffy and soft looking as well. And I love the little crystal heart because Rogue Lost in Space is on Team Crystals. It is perfect. Thank you. Next, we have some super cool gunslingers. We have TruePossumKing's character Judas alongside my Dampier girl V. I really love the colors in this piece, and also TruePossumKing made her these super cool custom weapons to match her character design, which is amazing. I love it. Thank you very much. Next is another exquisite Fing designed to look like stained glass, drawn by the artist Carmina. This suits him so well as a paladin especially. I adore the look of stained glass window, and to see my own character in the style of a stained glass window is just, it's too cool. Thank you so much, Carmina. At number 9, we have another adorable Calliope, this one drawn by StephieChu. I love how soft she looks. I love the pose. It's super fun. It suits her perfectly. I also really like the use of a soft warm color for highlights. I think that looks really good with Calliope's overall design. So thank you so much, StephieChu. And then in this almost the last week of ARTFIGHT, we got our very first attacks of KP. This one is from a longtime supporter, Spaghetti Betty, who has been coming back to attack my characters year after year. And look at my girl, look at the stars in her eyes. It's so beautiful. My pink bug scientist in space. Thank you so much. We got not one, but 2 KP pieces. This one is by FarewellFox, another return ARTFIGHT attacker. Look at all the details they included. KP didn't have art for most of ARTFIGHT, and I was getting kind of worried that she was too complicated and she wouldn't get any art, but y'all have proven me very wrong. Thank you so much to FarewellFox. We also have another animated attack from a very long time member of this community, and just one of the kindest people, SO-ChaoticSquidGod, who never fails to blow me away with their animated attacks. It's a Babrusalka piece of her kind of leaning into her transformation. Ooh, look at those claws and the hair and the fur. It is perfect. Thank you so much. And our last but certainly not least piece of this week's video is another attack from MT Mustang 21, who has come back to give more art, even though I haven't even revenged them for their first piece. They're the first person to draw Fing in his evil alternate variant. Look what a beautiful job that MT Mustang 21 has done. Thank you so much. This looks incredible. And that brings us to the end of yet another week of ARTFIGHT. Thank you all so much for the incredible art, for watching my videos, supporting me, and also for sending art knowing that I might get so busy that I can't attack you back. You are all wonderful, creative people. I hope you know how much your kindness and patience mean to me, and I hope you all know how talented you all are. You guys are so cool. But it's not over yet. We have 1 week left. I have a lot of art to make, and Team Fossils is coming for you, crystals. We're gonna break that 50-50 here in like the final minutes. Maybe. Hopefully. But as always, who knows? Not me.